Thanks for joining our security awareness training today. So for this month, we'll be reviewing social engineering. So let's get started. So today we'll go over the reasons why security awareness is so crucial, not only for, protecting ourselves and our company, but for protecting the clients we serve as well. Then we'll go ahead and dive into the three main social engineering tactics seen. So phishing, smishing, and vishing. And then lastly, we'll finish with some time for some questions and a knowledge check. All right, so let's take a look at the importance of security awareness. So to understand the reason why security awareness training is so critical, let's go over a reminder of what a breach is. So a breach is generally a security incident in which, unauthorized parties access sensitive or confidential information. So when a breach occurs, not only can there be a disruption in normal business operations that directly affects incoming profits, but the aftermath of the security event can lead to potential lawsuits, legal fees, penalties, and fines, not to mention damage to the company's reputation and loss of client trust. So per IBM's data breach report, 2024 marked the highest cost of data breaches ever, average of over $4 million. So as you can see, it's not just the initial cost of a breach that can affect an organization, but the trickle effect can continue on. For small and large businesses alike, the impact of a breach can be detrimental to the survival of the company. So here's a real world example of the largest breach in US history. So Change Healthcare, a nationwide medical system, became a victim of a ransomware attack in 2024. So attackers stole PHI, so medical data, and PII, personal data, of over 100 million people. This attack not only cost the organization almost $3 million, but directly impacted patient care and safety. So the cause of this breach was due to lack of MFA on a remote network connection, something that unfortunately got overlooked. It's taken Change Healthcare almost a year to come back from this ransomware attack. And on top of that, they still face multiple lawsuits. So, as you can see, a breach is not only the initial cost of the attack, but, in effect, they continue affecting the organization and everybody involved. So, of course, you are the first line of defense. Security awareness training is vital to security. This is a key topic because many people assume that they have the best security technologies, it'll provide them with 100% coverage. Unfortunately, that's just not true. Just like our previous example of Change Healthcare, large corporations and governments spend millions of dollars and still aren't immune from cyber attacks. Another common belief is that the IT department will take care of all the security and assume a firewall and antivirus will protect them against anything. Unfortunately, attackers will go where security is weakness, and most of the time, this is human manipulation. So why would an attacker be interested in you? So bottom line is that everybody has something an attacker wants, whether it be for financial gain, identity theft, extortion, blackmail, espionage. The list goes on. They say data is the new gold, and some data is worth more than more than others. For example, PHI, contains highly sensitive information that can be used for blackmail or fraud. So on the black market, it goes for way more at about $250 a record or so, versus a credit card, which goes for about $5 or $10. This is why protecting sensitive data starts out with, being aware of the tactics that attackers can use to coerce you. So cybersecurity awareness is a must for everyone. Much of the information, in this training can actually be used not only at work to protect you, but at home as well. All right, so now let's dive into some social engineering, what it is, and then the methods used by attackers. So social engineering attacks leverage, natural human tendencies such as trust, fear, curiosity, to persuade someone into sharing sensitive or confidential information. In fact, 90% of cyber attacks use some sort of some form of social engineering, because as mentioned earlier, attackers will go where security is weakest. Some main tactics we'll review today are, phishing, smishing, and vishing. So phishing is a method by which attackers pose as a trustworthy source via email. So they try and persuade you to share sensitive information or potentially click on a link or attachment that is malicious. Smishing is where attackers utilize text messages in similar ways to phishing, to get you to click on malicious links or share sensitive information. And vishing uses phone calls to try and convince a victim that they're a trustworthy source. All right. So phishing is definitely the most common one that we see, common form of social engineering. It relies on the victim to trust that the email received or website visited is a trustworthy source in order to solicit information from them. So here you can see, common phishing red flags. So first one is generic greeting. So dear member, as opposed to dear, your name signed up for. So that's your first clue. Urgent tone intended to create fear. So to have someone act quickly, right? Click this link immediately or your account will be closed. Click this link immediately to verify this transaction or your bank account will be closed, that sort of thing. Sender email address doesn't match the company email. I've seen this before. Microsoft.com versus Microsoft, super close. So you have to be very careful when you're reading those domain names. Unexpected email communication. So an email you didn't expect from a sender that contains links or attachments. Another strong clue, any request to send personal information. So, logins or any information, anything sensitive about the company. Also seen a lot of donate to charity, right? So like after, the big one was after Hurricane Katrina. Or any natural disaster where there are victims, scams come along right with that, unfortunately. Also misspelled words, grammar, incorrect punctuation, that sort of thing, anything blatantly obvious. Although with the development of AI, this may be a little more difficult to catch. But if you're ever unsure, it's always best to be cautious, before you open an email, click any links. It's also important to mention here, there's a specific form of phishing called spear phishing. So this is a form of phishing that focuses on high value targets such as CEOs, CFOs, financial departments, HR directors, basically key employees that can result in high impact breaches just due to the sensitive nature of the information they have access to. The same red flags here, will work for those types of spear phishing attacks as well. All right, so let's go over an example. So this is an example of a phishing email. In this email, the first thing you see, the generic greeting. So user's name isn't specified in the greeting, which means likely you've sent to multiple email addresses in bulk. Also, the business name in the or in the greeting is all capital letters, which isn't, the trademark or branding of LinkedIn, obviously. So there's your first clue. So second thing is, there's multiple poor grammar. You see here, number 2 highlighted, for a reputable organization, not likely. Third thing here, we see a sense of urgency, right? So fail to upgrade your account or it'll be closed. So preying again on that fear of someone to act quickly. And then the fourth thing is obviously a request to send information. So typically these organizations are not going to be asking you for, your email and your password for requesting information like that. So be very wary of anybody that asks you for sensitive information. And last thing is just notice that at the bottom there, reply to upgrade, right? There's a link within this email, which if malicious can contain malware. So be very wary of unexpected links. All right. So links and emails are not the only thing to be wary of. The best defense is to stop and think, do you recognize a sender? Do they normally email you attachments? A good example might be getting an email from your parents or grandparents. Maybe not always will happen, but if they do, is it kind of weird for them to send you an Excel document or a PDF or a link within an email out of the blue? So just stop, think, be wary of anything that you weren't expecting. Macros are also worth mentioning here because they're still used. If malicious, they can affect your device if enabled. So always be cautious when opening any attachments in general and any documents with macros and enabling that content. All right, so finally, what do you do if you think you received a phishing email? So you received an unexpected email, went through and reviewed the phishing red flags, and are unsure the email is legitimate. So what are your next steps? So you definitely want to verify that communication through alternate means. So a known phone number, a known email of the person that they're claiming to be, as opposed to what is actually in the email. You want to report the email to your IT department, especially if it's a spear phishing email or someone that, is claiming to be CEO or CFO. They're probably going to want to do like a mass communication to the organization saying, hey, watch out for this, or you just had a phishing email impersonating the CFO. And then, of course, you can use that report phishing button in Microsoft Outlook or, messages in Teams. They also have an option to report phishing. Unfortunately, email is not the only place that people can send phishing emails, right? And then, of course, delete it. You don't want to click on that email later on and accidentally click on that link. So things that you do not want to do. So do not click on any links or open any attachments you do not trust. Always stop and think before. And then, of course, never reply or send any sensitive information to that email. Make sure that you stop and think first. And of course, remember, you're always the first line of defense. All right, so next one we'll go over is smishing. So smishing is text message phishing. So basically there's similar red flags, a little bit different. So first one is unknown sender's phone number. So phone number you don't recognize. Urgent tone, right? Click this link for your free gift, within 24 hours. So again, telling you to act quickly. Unexpected communications with links or attachments, sensitive information requests, misspelled words. So there's a list here. You can see these are definitely common types of smishing attacks. Personally, I've received bank fraud alerts and tax scams. The IRS is not going to text you. They are going to send things via old snail mail, just like they've always done. And of course, any bank fraud alerts, you always just want to contact your bank directly and make sure that you're never, trusting random text messages from unknown numbers like that. All right, so here's an actual text message I received claiming to be USPS. So first thing I do is you recognize the phone number, right? So look at that phone number and that plus 63. So first thing I did, I Googled what that meant. And, the plus 63 in front of a 9-digit phone number is your country code for Philippines. There's my first clue. So second thing is I'm expecting a package. Even if I was, you're going to not want to click that link. You want to go through the alternate means, right? Verified contact, go to the actual USPS website. Third things is look at that request to click a link. Suspicious, right? You want to make sure that you're not clicking any links you don't trust. And then, excessive directions. Sometimes these spam text or text messages have, very specific directions that they want you to follow. So that's also a clue there. And then that odd domain name. So if you look at that link in that text message, that's a very strange, obviously not the USPS.com. So there's, your fifth clue basically. So attention to detail is important. Taking a time out before responding will help make these red flags easier to pop out for sure. All right. So what do you do if you receive a smishing text message? So you always want to be suspicious, right? Never trust anything from unsolicited text messages. Make sure you verify similar to phishing. So make sure you verify the communication is real by contacting the sender directly through like means, actual phone numbers and emails that you know. Do report the text message to your phone carrier. As you can see, if you have an iPhone, you're able to swipe left, hit that little trash can, and you're able to delete and report that junk. So just make sure you just delete it and don't even click on any links you don't trust. Opening attachments, you're unsure of, you don't, expecting or don't recognize. And of course, do not respond, call the number listed or send any, sensitive information. You always want to take that time out. All right, so last one we'll go over today is vishing. So this or voice phishing. So vishing could be difficult to detect with the ability to spoof caller IDs. They can appear legitimate. Some red flags that you can look out for are Again, unsolicited phone call, blocked number, strange phone number, background noise or poor call quality, something maybe like a call center, or, it's hard to hear the person, strange pauses. Of course, pressure to act quickly, right? That sense of urgency. They want you to try and act quick without thinking. Request for sensitive information, confidential information over the phone, not typical legitimate businesses, unfamiliar or blocked caller ID, like I had mentioned, and then offers that seem too good to be true, right? Respond to this call and we'll pay off your mortgage in 24 hours. I highly doubt it. So, just be very wary of stuff like that. And then, of course, request for remote access. Like, for instance, a scam coming from, Best Buy Geek Squad or something, say, oh, we found a virus on your computer. We would like remote access to try and fix it for you. Don't ever fall for that. Some common types of phishing attacks, as you can see here, bank impersonations, those are super common. The tech support scams, like I mentioned, and then, social security scams. I think we probably all got those, voicemails of the Social Security Administration, call us back, or your social security number is going to be destroyed. It's, you got to be very careful, very wary of these. All right, so let's go over an example. So say you get a voicemail from Wells Fargo Fraud Department or stating they're from Wells Fargo Fraud Department. They were trying to get in touch with you. They discover some potential fraud, they need to confirm your credentials to view the activity or your account will be locked within 24 hours. So there's your first clue, right? Wells Fargo is not going to be asking for your credentials. They already have access to all your information. Also, there's that sense of urgency that 24 hours or your account's going to be locked. So they're preying on, people's tendency to have fear and react quickly. First thing, do you recognize the phone number? If not, there's your first clue. That sense of urgency with that 24 hours. And then did you expect that call from Wells Fargo? If not, there's, most people have the banking applications on their phone. You're able to check on your own or call through an alternate means that is actually Wells Fargo phone number. Here's an example of a phishing scam phase. So the scammer calls the victim with their request, right, in a sense of urgency. The victim trusts the source, so they share that confidential information. And unfortunately, the scammer uses it to, steal their money and send it over to themselves. And so, fortunately, they're a victim of a scam. So just got to be very careful. All right, so what to do if you receive a phishing phone call? So remember, always be, suspicious of unsolicited phone calls, especially when they're asking for personal information or confidential information. If you're unsure, if the phone call is legitimate, always stop and think before. You do want to verify the caller through, again, alternate means, right? Looking up the company's official phone number and not relying on the phone number that they give you. You're welcome to ignore calls that you don't recognize. Send them to voicemail, do your research before you decide to call them back. You can report the call to your provider, or if it's a company phone, make sure you report it to your IT department as well. And you can use those call blocking features. Trust your gut, trust your instincts. If it doesn't feel right, hang up. You're not going to be hurting anybody's feelings. You're just going to be protecting yourself. Just make sure, some things do not give out any personal information or confidential information if you're unsure. Never allow the caller to gain remote access to any of your devices, and never respond to any text messages. Sometimes a call will come in, they'll say, oh, we're going to go ahead and send you a text message to verify on this link. So, you can be a victim of phishing and smishing at the same time. And then, of course, never use that phone number that caller gives you. You always want to use trusted phone numbers from trusted sources. All right. So last but not least, I've been scammed. So what should you do if you or someone falls victim to, a scam? Always ask for help. Don't panic, act quickly, and don't be ashamed. It happens. Some of these scams are very believable. So time is critical, so act fast. That might mean unplugging your computer or disconnecting it from the network to stop the spread of an infection. Make sure you write down any important details, dates, times, affected accounts, any information from the scammer that you can remember, anything relevant to the situation. Also, if it's ransomware or a scam, should you report it? Absolutely. So below here, you can see there are 3 sources to report. So Better Business Bureau, FBI, and CISA. So all 3 of these sources have opportunities for individuals to report ransomware and scams. And remember, always report suspicious activity to your IT department, even if you're unsure. It's just better to be safe, than sorry. So here's some additional resources. Obviously, knowledge is power, and staying on top of current events and cybersecurity threats can give you the power to protect yourself and those around you. So always, when in doubt, ask questions. Anybody around you, your IT department, attack methods change constantly. So staying on top of them, is always going to be helpful. Here's some free resources, SANS Ouch, there's free newsletters with information, current events. Stay safe online. They have great tips for being able to stay safe and protect you from things like social engineering. And of course, CISA.gov, tons of resources and tools, numerous free trainings. They very good resource for staying on top of these. All right. Well, thank you all for joining today's security awareness training on social engineering. Before I send the link over for the knowledge check, does anybody have any questions? All right. Well, thanks again for everybody joining. For everyone on our team, I'll send over that link and I appreciate your time.